We are back with chapter 228 of JJK. We get left off on a massive cliffhanger at the very end, but before that, we pretty much get confirmed what we all probably thought going into this chapter, and that is that Sukuna is unstoppable and on a completely different level than anybody else. And this chapter might upset some of you, but we'll get into that. Let's get right into the chapter. The chapter begins with Kashimo analyzing Sukuna with his X-ray enhanced eyes. Narrator says Kashimo was seeing perfection. The narrator then explains that even if Sukuna had to use hand signs, his other two hands will be free. He can use non-stop chants without straining his lungs due to having more mouths. He's just superior to any other sorcerer. And that's just something I never considered with Sukuna having 4 arms and multiple mouths in his Heian era form. A lot of the times we forget that sorcerers use hand signs in order to perform certain moves or buff their existing moves. And being able to do non-stop chants and doing hand signs and fighting with the other 2 arms, like Sukuna can literally do non-stop moves, always planning ahead for the next move, and clearly has the advantage in terms of stacking abilities and being able to counter since he's kind of like 2 people in one. Sukuna had finished off the 5 Void Generals and Sun, Moon, and Star squad of North Fujiwara clan, and even made the Denshichen squad of Sugiwara clan and Angels from the Abe clan retreat. So hard to keep track of all these different clans from the Heian era, especially since we never see like any backstories on any of them, but off the top of my head I believe that Okotsu is a descendant of the Fujiwara clan, right? Which makes him a distant relative of Gojo. And the Sun, Moon, and Star squad was the team of assassins that was also led by Takako Uro. So this all goes to say that Sukuna was a straight up beast in the time that he was alive. Kashimo is mesmerized and calls Sukuna beautiful, and then proceeds to attack. But Sukuna grabs hold of Kashimo and punches him away. Sukuna begins chanting for an attack while warning Kashimo to dodge it. So Kashimo wastes no time, he tries attacking Sukuna head on, but it seems that Sukuna can easily handle him with 2 of his arms and starts gearing up for a massive attack with the other 2. And we immediately see what move he's gearing up for here because Sukuna then launches a huge dismantle slash. Kashimo realizes that that's the attack which ended Gojo. So I guess we're seeing the move that off-screened Gojo right here, and I guess, you know, that might satisfy some of you who were upset that we didn't see Gojo actually die in like the exact manner that it happened. Here you go. I guess you can imagine Gojo being hit by this attack and dying, but it's just like a straight up massive dismantle slash, and Kashimo calls that attack the slash that cuts the world. Sukuna then says that a stupid person once tried to teach him about love and said he's alone because there's no one on his level. Sukuna says she chose the wrong person to teach love to and should have taught it to Gojo or Kashimo. So first off, Kashimo is calling it the slash that cuts the world because it can literally cut anything. This was explained when Sukuna was explaining it to Gojo, that he can cut through infinity, he can cut the physical space that anyone is in. So it's pretty much an unavoidable attack. And when Sukuna is referring to some stupid person trying to teach him about love, I don't know if that's someone from his past that we haven't seen yet, or the more likely answer here is that it's Yorozu, who was the first one that introduced this whole, you know, teach you about love thing way back in their fight. And it seems like a very recurring theme here, and it's going to be elaborated more on in this chapter as well. But it's interesting that he says that she chose the wrong person to teach it to and should have taught it to Gojo or Kashimo. Is that implying that Yorozu was like closer to their level than she was to his level? Because that's saying a lot, or I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. Let me know in the comments below what you think he meant by that statement. Sukuna then continues his attack and even overwhelms Kashimo with his quick movements. Sukuna then sends a net of dismantle slashes upon Kashimo. So in the panels that we get here, we just see Sukuna piecing up Kashimo, which is gonna upset a lot of Kashimo fans, kind of including myself, to be honest. I thought Kashimo would be putting up a much better fight than he has currently. And I mean, just look at Kashimo's face in this panel when he's confronted by this net of slashes. Doesn't really look like he can handle it. So this is likely the move that Sukuna was gearing up for, using his other set of arms and his other mouth to kind of do hand signs and chants for. And if this dude can perform hand-to-hand combat and also be constantly chanting and doing hand signs for attacks like this, like how the hell are you supposed to beat him? Well, we take a step away from the live action here to do a bit of a, I don't know, a dream sequence or a flashback of some sort, which you know is never a good thing for a character, right? Sukuna begins to preach Kashimo, who's now in a Heian era form. Sukuna says that Kashimo must have been challenged by many men in an attempt to get acknowledged from him, and Kashimo must have killed those people by his hands. Sukuna then asks if that's not showing mercy, then what else is? So Sukuna's pretty much telling Kashimo, yeah, you probably were that guy in your time while you were alive, and many people probably probably wanted you to acknowledge them because you were the strongest. And Sukuna also explains that them dying by Kashimo's hands is somehow showing them mercy in a way, which I don't fully understand, to be honest. But we continue in this whole little dream sequence thing as Kashimo reverts back to his current form, and Sukuna continues to say that we, referring to the strongest, are loved because we are strong. Then why worry about loneliness? Kashimo then asks that should have satisfied Sukuna, but why did he still travel to the current time by splitting his soul? Sukuna says after understanding, he can now declare that love is trash. Sukuna says he's never thought of being satisfied by another. He eats when he wants to, he'll kill if someone's an eyesore, or play if someone seems fun. He just lives at his own scale, and if others can't measure up to him, then that's their problem. When Kashimo asks if he was bored, Sukuna says the flavor of humans are diverse and ephemeral. It's perfect to sip on it and kill time until he dies. So Kashimo's curious why Sukuna wasn't satisfied in the time that he was alive and decided to come to the present time in the first place. Well, Sukuna simply responds to this by saying that he's pretty much realizing at this point that he is the strongest, like the absolute strongest, and that no one is going to teach him about quote unquote love, nor does he want it. Meaning it seems like he's not caring about the excitement of finding someone that's his match or someone that gives him that satisfaction on the level that, you know, maybe Gojo felt just before he died in fighting someone that was stronger than him in Sukuna. He doesn't care about any of that. The dude just wants to eat, kill, and pretty much chill all day. So essentially my guy Sukuna here is just here for a good time, pretty much telling Kashimo not to overthink it. And again, this whole dream sequence with Kashimo and Sukuna heavily implies that Kashimo like just got killed by that net of slashes. So that really sucks. That's really annoying because again, I thought Kashimo would be putting up a much better fight here. He was hyped up for so long to have this, you know, super strong one-time curse technique that would give Sukuna some trouble, but so far that seems to not be the case. Still seems kind of early though, so you know, I guess I can hold my judgment for until then, because we then kind of cut away from Kashimo as we go back to reality. The domain that has trapped Hikari and Urami breaks, and Sukuna notices someone's arrival. Yuji, Itadori, and Higuruma arrive at the battlefield, but Sukuna shit talks Yuji, asking him, what could you possibly even do, brat? So huge surprise here. First of all, we get the domain that was holding Hikari and Urami breaking. Hikari seems to have a smug smile on his face, and Urami seems pretty distraught, meaning that Hikari probably has had the upper hand on Urami in their little clash inside of this domain. They both seem to be in one piece though, so it doesn't seem like anybody took any, you know, massive damage in particular. But more important than that, we have Yuji and Higuruma coming to the scene at the same time. Honestly, out of all the people that were still watching or spectating the whole Gojo fight, I really didn't anticipate that Yuji and Higuruma would be like the first combination to hop in, because I did think that they were going to come in waves. I didn't think that all the people or all the students were going to come in at one time. Seeing how Akari was the only one to come in the previous chapter, it definitely made me think that they were going to come in waves or in a coordinated way instead of just kind of rushing Sukuna at once. So it's really cool that this is the first kind of, you know, team to hop in. Higuruma of course says that he has some questions to ask Sukuna, so dude's gonna put him on trial. And as Yuji's hopping in, it seems like he's like biting his wrist or something, and it also seems like both of his wrists are wrapped, so maybe that has something to do with like activating one of his new abilities or something he's learned in like the little like off-screen really quick training session that we kind of got in the middle of Sukuna fighting Gojo and Gojo being unsealed. Maybe it's for the body swapping technique, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. The editor's comment at the end of the chapter says, Inhuman Makio tag match, Itadori and Higuruma joins the battle. JJK will be on break next week, so unfortunately we don't have a new chapter coming next week, so we're gonna be left on this massive cliffhanger for a whole damn week, but you know, that's alright. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on, because I will be dropping JJK content in between then, so I'll keep you guys occupied until the next chapter. That is it for this one though. Have an absolutely wonderful night, afternoon, evening, whatever. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'll see you guys in the next one.